The natural follow-up to a feature race, this is the sprint race, the first of the 2016 FF2M season, and once again it comes to you at the Nurburgring in western Germany, south of Cologne and Bonn. A quick recap of the feature race saw Pierre Gasly take the first win of the season for Magnum Force. Second and third were two drivers who took on soft tyres for the feature race. They were Gajera 2's Alessandro Farina in his first FF2M race, and third was the returning Cristobal Alvarez for Willows Jr. He was absent for the 2015-16 Asia Series because he was not allowed to take part due to being A champion previously. As for the rest of the top 8, Nolan Bryant took fourth in his first FF2M race, that was with Shake and Bake Jr. Fifth was the pole sitter for the feature, Caterina Caracciola for STV Racing, and then the remaining ones, Kumio Kobayashi, former FF1M driver Kobayashi, was in 6th, Mason Taylor was 7th, and 8th was Oliver Rowland. We're expecting 16 laps for the sprint race, and for the sprint race, the top 8 get reversed from the feature race to form the grid. So, 8th place Oliver Rowland takes pole position for this race, having taken that from Benjamin Pryor in the closing stages last time in the feature race. There's confirmation, Rowland on pole for Magnum Force, Mason Taylor second, then Kobayashi starts third for Gajera 2, ahead of Caterina Caracciola. Nolan Bryant starts 5th ahead of Cristobal Alvarez in 6th place, and then 7th and 8th, Alessandro Farina and Pierre Gasly. And as for the rest of the grid, that was as they finished in the feature race, so Benjamin Pryor starts 9th ahead of Nikita Mazepin 10th, Charlotte Plectrum starts 11th for OLM Hulk, ahead of Esteban Ocon in 12th. Louis Delatraz will start 13th in the other AJ Motorsport, ahead of Pietro Fittipaldi 14th. Daniel Kvyat had a pretty miserable time of it. He starts 15th ahead of Naoki Yamamoto. Luca Giotto 17th ahead of Artem Markelov in 18th. Saw very little of him. And then the two Danish racings collided with each other. Late in the race, Sam Bird 19th, Pascal Wehrlein 20th, and then the two Spaniels right at the back. Alfonsi had a bit of a rash dive bomb manoeuvre on Caracciola, which ended up in contact with Kobayashi, and Kimmonen spun off after contact with Yamamoto. So the 5 lights go out, and from pole position, Rowland gets away pretty well. Taylor also had a good start. Can he do something about Oliver Rowland round the outside? This is how Nolan Bryant took the lead off of Caracciola. Caracciola, look at that! Storming right up the inside of the pair of them, taking the lead in the STV Racing and on the soft tyres as well for the sprint race. I'm expecting it to be very, very difficult to beat now in this 15-lap race, actually. Not 16 as it's suggested on the screen. So, second is Taylor. So he did get ahead of Oliver Rowland at the start, but Rowland now down to third. And look at this, Alvarez having a look at Rowland, and up the inside, Pierre Gasly taking Nikita Mazepin for 6th. Mazepin's had a very good start from 10th on the grid, gained a lot of positions up to 6th. And Nolan Bryant 7th, Kamui Kobayashi in 8th place as we round the RTL curve. So left and then a long fast right, which spells the end of the second sector pretty much as you go onto the back straight. There's right at the back Väinö Kimmonen. In fact, Taylor's not doing too badly. Let me just double check the tyres that Taylor's on just to make sure. It shows Pierre Gasly, that's the blue ringed hard tyres, which I'm not 100% sure on that. It looked as if he was on hards in the feature race. There's some brake lockups at the back. There's Farina, he's definitely on the hards, that's correct. And through the chicane, Wehrlein right round the outside. And lap 2 now, it's Caracciola in the lead, Taylor second, 9/10 back, and then this battle for third between Alvarez and Rowland. Contact between the two, and Alvarez goes spinning into the gravel. And is that going to put Gasly up into third? It has done. And Mazepin up to 5th. That's the result of the spinning Alvarez. Look at this traffic jam at the back. Esteban Ocon's making good advances. He's up to 6th place now. So that's ahead of Nolan Bryant. So Ocon must have had a pretty good first lap, combined with a pretty good avoiding action of the chaos in front of him. Now into the Dunlop hairpin. That's Kobayashi side by side with Nolan Bryant. And through the exit of Dunlop, and Kobayashi takes 7th place. And back, I think Benjamin Pryor was getting into some action with one of the OLM drivers. And there's your 6th place driver, Esteban Ocon. His target is Nikita Mazepin, 5th place in the Liquid target. And look at that, it was indeed an OLM that Pryor was fighting against, and it was Charlotte Plectrum, both part of the FJR team in the 2015 FF2M season. And some side-by-side, is that Yamamoto versus Plectrum? And a little more battling, look at this. And whoa, my word, I think that was the other OLM of Daniel Kvyat making a big lunge on his teammate, and now he's right behind Benjamin Pryor through the Castrol S. That was Caracciola, then it was Taylor, then Pierre Gasly. Now this is a battle for 5th between Mazepin and Ocon. Into the Castrol S, that's a clean manoeuvre for Esteban Ocon, and Bryant retaking Kobayashi at the exit, well, going into the Castrol S, but maintaining that at the exit. Lap 3 out of 15 through the Ford complex. That's Nolan Bryant we are looking at. Now we switch up towards the front. Now we switch back to Nikita Mazepin in 6th, looking for Liquitarget's first points of the season as Farina makes a move up the inside of one of the AJs of Louis Delatraz. That's for 9th place. Points go down from 1st to 6th. Oh, pulling off, is that Benjamin Pryor? It is Benjamin Pryor. That is a mechanical issue for the STV racing. That is very rare to see in FF2M. Transmission problem indicated on his steering wheel. So let's have a look at the race start. This is on board with one of the Gajera 2s. I think this is Farina. It is Farina we're on board with. You can see it gets a good launch, but hesitates a little bit behind Bryant. And there you can see that's where Gasly makes up a lot of position. And then it just gets swamped, does Farina. And that's one of the OLMs going past. So Farina getting a bit wrong-footed there at the opening lap. But here is the start from onboard Caterina Caracciola in 4th place. Good launch, already alongside Kobayashi, and then moves to the right into the slipstream of Roland, and very, very late on the brakes was the Swiss driver, and straight into the lead. And as I mentioned, on those soft tyres, and there's confirmation of her teammate out of the race, Benjamin Pryor. New fastest lap for Pierre Gasly in the Magnum Force. And he's 2.8 seconds behind Caracciola. So he needs to get ahead of Taylor if he's going to challenge for the lead. And speaking of challenges, this is Mazepin versus Bryant for 6th place, and Bryant takes the initiative as Farina gets ahead of his teammates for 8th place. Both Gajera 2s looking for points. As inside into the Ford complex goes Farina on Mazepin, but that's not going to work quite yet. Roland versus Ocon for 4th place. Roland not really defending that one, but he's trying to hang on around the outside, but Ocon takes the place. Former teammates, these two, for Willows Jr. in the previous FF2M season, so they know each other quite well. Roland versus Bryant now, and Bryant firmly in the slipstream of Oliver Roland in the Magnum Force. 2 Magnum Forces in the top 5 at the moment. Make that the top 6 because Nolan Bryant in the Shake and Bake Jr. has taken 5th place off of Ollie. And switching to Cristobal Alvarez, looking to recover his lost time, but instead he's going to tag the back of the Spaniel and spin at the Castrol S. So he had a good return in the feature race, but it hasn't worked quite well. Artem Markelov going for a spin after some slight contact, and Yamamoto doing the same thing, synchronised spinning, and they're parking pretty much perfectly next to each other. So Yamamoto hitting the back of one of the OLM drivers. I think that's Daniel Kvyat, but it could well easily be Sam Bird as well. As we switch to Pascal Wehrlein, looking to make a move on one of the OLMs. I think this must be the other OLM. If it was Kvyat behind, then it's Sam Bird in front. Alessandro Farina looking up the inside of Nikita Mazepin into the RTL curve and taking 7th place off of Nikita. Now Nikita has got the other Gajera 2 to deal with of Kamui Kobayashi. Pascal Wehrlein versus an OLM of Sam Bird, and he's taken that well under braking. And it was Sam Bird. No, it was... Is it Charlotte Plectrum? It's Charlotte Plectrum, never mind. Yeah, the 2 OLM drivers are Charlotte Plectrum and Daniel Kvyat. Mental note. Battle for 8th between Nikita Mazepin and Kamui Kobayashi. We're pretty much at half distance now. And Caracciola still leads 1.5 seconds over Mason Taylor as Kobayashi outbrakes Nikita Mazepin into the Castrol S and promptly takes 8th place. Now there's a battle for seconds between Taylor and Gasly. Gasly on those hard tyres, Mason on I think hard tyres as well. A contact between the two, and Gasly goes spinning. Gasly ruining his chance at victory by tagging the back of Taylor and going into the gravel. Now can he rejoin? Well, if he has done, he's way down the order. And Taylor lost a lot of ground as well. 4.7 seconds behind Caracciola now. As we look at one of the Spaniels, that is Väinö Kymmenen down in 13th place. And his next target is one of the OLMs, as up the inside, that is Sam Bird, driving for Danish racing team, taking Louis Delatraz. As into the pits comes Gasly, so he did rejoin, but must have damaged his front wing against the guardrail, and as a result has had to come into the pits for repairs. This is Roland versus Farina for 5th place, into the Vidal chicane, and Farina takes 5th off of the Magnum Force driver. Magnum Force, one of the few teams that have taken unique liveries for both their drivers. Wehrlein tagging, kissing the back of Mazepin and having a spin at the RTL curve. We saw Wehrlein rounds there in the feature race, and then promptly got shunted into by Sam Bird. Could have been an unsafe rejoin for Wehrlein, but nevertheless a disaster for Danish racing then. As Väinö Kymmenen, it's Mattia Alfonsi actually, he's making progress at the expense of Charlotte Plectrum, I believe that is. A battle for 3rd, Ocon v Bryant, and Bryant having a look at the inside and forces Ocon to give room, and up to 3rd goes the Shake and Bake Junior driver. And he's having a tremendous first weekend of his FF2M career. 4th place and now up to 3rd. He could be a very strong championship contender. As through goes Alfonsi, that's past Nikita Mazepin for 8th place. And Alfonsi is pretty much, as near as makes no difference, 10 seconds behind Kobayashi, so I think Alfonsi's routed to 8th, unless something goes wrong in front of him. As through the Ford complex, Mazepin now under pressure from the OLM of Charlotte Plectrum, and I think that's Väinö Kymmenen coming into play as well. So it's going to be a 3-car battle for 9th place. And who is going to win out between those 3? A battle for pride, but it could be a battle to boost confidence heading into the following races. Next race after Nurburgring is Mugello, up the inside, having a look. Look at that! Mazepin forced to give room, and he's made a mistake and spun it. Mazepin pressured into that mistake by Plectrum. As Mazepin turns it back round, looks to rejoin, but there might be cars coming. 10th place Kymmenen, challenging 9th place Plectrum. He's going to have a look into the Castrol S, and Plectrum moving over, but Kymmenen has got enough room on the inside to outbrake the Frenchman and move up into 9th place. Now it depends on who gets the fastest lap as to who gets the bonus point for that. I'd expect it to be Gasly actually, because he's had to make an unscheduled pit stop, but rounding the final corner, taking advantage of that brilliant outbraking manoeuvre, it's victory number 2 in her FF2M career for Caterina Caracciola, STV Racing's first win of the season. And who is second? Mason Taylor second. Now it does say softs on the top right. I'm pretty sure that might be correct. Nolan Bryant 3rd on the softs as well. So, rest of the points, 4th, 5th and 6th. Esteban Ocon, 4th for Willows Jr. So a good drive from him actually on those hards. Farina taking 5th, so points in both races for the Gajera 2 driver. And then 6th place, Ollie Rowland in the Magnum Force. So Magnum Force get 2 points actually, because Gasly rejoined from his pit stop and promptly set the fastest lap on his way. As for the rest of the runners, the rest of the top 8 goes Kamui Kobayashi, Mattia Alfonsi, then Väinö Kymmenen and Charlotte Plectrum 10th. So from the back row, both Spaniels made it from 21st and 22nd up to 8th and 9th. So that bodes well actually in terms of race pace for the upcoming races, but they need to stay out of trouble in the upcoming feature races if they're going to take advantage of their speed. And you can see further down the order, Gasly ended up a lap down thanks to that retirement, and Benjamin Pryor, the only retirement of that race due to reliability, unusually. So the championship standings, it's Pierre Gasly who holds a 1-point lead over Caterina Caracciola. Caracciola on 12 points, and Alessandro Farina holds 3rd on 10 points, followed by Nolan Bryant on 9, Mason Taylor on 7th, Cristobal Alvarez on 6th, and then completing the top 10 and those who have scored points, Esteban Ocon, Kamui Kobayashi, Ollie Rowland and Sam Bird. And it's Magnum Force who lead the team's championship. They hold 15 points, 2 ahead of Gajera 2, and then another 1 ahead of STV Racing. As for the rest who have scored points there, Willows Jr., Shake and Bake, AJ Motorsports and the Danish Racing Team. Spaniel, OLM Hulk, Liquid Target and GRM Jr. all yet to score points. I'd expect that to change for Spaniel going into the next meeting of the season, as we head from Germany to Italy and the Mugello circuit supporting the San Marino Grand Prix. So we shall see you for then.